Welcome to Delivering Miracles, a podcast to teach women like you tips and strategies on how you can have a safer pregnancy so you can bring home a healthy baby. I'm your host and your high-risk pregnancy expert, Parijat Deshpande. I can't wait to chat with you. The journey to bringing my son home felt like 17 marathons, one after the other. It was infertility, and then it was the really high-risk pregnancy with 8 complications, just one after the other, and months of bed rest, and just weeks and days of, oh my gosh, am I going to stay pregnant long enough to give him a chance to survive? And then he came almost as early as you can possibly come and survive. And then it was months in the NICU. And I got to tell you, there were so many times when friends and even NICU nurses at some point later in our NICU stay, once we knew that he was going to be able to come home, we just didn't know when. There's so many times that friends and nurses and even family to an extent would tell me, hey, have you made plans for so-and-so when he comes home? Hey, have you thought about so-and-so or such and such when he comes home? They'd give me ideas about how to cope, how to deal, how to manage my time. Like, have you thought about getting help at home? Have you thought about where he's going to sleep? Have you thought about how you're going to handle pumping with all of his appointments all the time? And my answer is always the same. We'll deal with it when we get there. Because it had been such a horrible journey up until that point that it felt like as soon as we broke out of jail, is what we called it. As soon as we broke out of the NICU, as long as he was home with us, it had to be better than what we were going through. It had to be easier. And if we can get through this, we'll figure out the postpartum once baby's home thing later. We'll deal with it later. The problem with that is that while, yes, having baby home is in so many ways so much better than having a baby in the hospital, it's not necessarily easy either. Because there were a lot of things to juggle. And you know the crazy part about it? And this is something that really surprises NICU parents. It surprised me too, because all I wanted was to get out of that unit. I couldn't stand it anymore. Then we get home and you realize how much more social you were in the NICU than you are at home. We brought him home in the middle of winter, so we were on lockdown immediately. So other than getting out of the house to go to the doctor's appointments, we didn't see people. And for somebody like me who's an extrovert and loves people, that was pure torture. And so it was this like half and half experience of, I love that we're back. I love that we're home and we're all together and I'm so grateful. But I kind of want to go back to the NICU and talk to my nurses again because they were the only people I talked to for so many months. And here's the thing about NICU parents, right? It's that the journey isn't over just because baby comes home. Then you have all the post-NICU cares. Then you have to figure out how to be a family at home. And then you've got all the trauma that you've been through coming back and hitting you in the face, going, you've got to deal with this. Because you haven't dealt with it so far. And so then you start reliving all of that. And in fact, studies show that a little more than half of NICU parents, and I mean fathers and mothers, end up experiencing anxiety and depression. And I usually see it in my clients about 6 to 12 weeks after baby comes home, not after delivery, after baby comes home. And it takes everybody by surprise. Like, what is going on? I thought it was over. I thought this was going to be easy. And the truth is, whether you have a baby in the NICU or you deliver full term and you bring a baby home, the period after when you bring that baby home is hard. And just like you've done the homework to build the right prenatal team, to build the right NICU team, to build your medical team to get the baby into this world, you've got to be able to create a team after baby's here. But we don't really talk about that, do we? I know nobody told me about that. I mean, they mentioned these things, but I had no idea who this team could be. And now that I'm doing this work and I'm meeting such amazing people, I'm like, oh, that would have been really helpful. Which is why I'm really excited that today on the show, we have my friend and colleague, Hannah, who is going to talk to us about the postpartum dream team that we all need. We all need it. This is not something that is a nice to have. We all need it for our sanity and our survival to help us be the best parents possible. I'm so excited we're talking about that today on this episode. Hannah Chelsey is the founder of the Baby Maven, and she's a pregnancy mentor and new parent coach. She works with first-time moms to help them navigate the transition into new parenthood so that they feel supported and successful as a parent. Oh, that sounds amazing. From baby gear to birthing, swaddling to soothing, diapering to daily duties, and burping to bathing, Hannah brings a wealth of knowledge and a sense of confidence to brand new mamas. With her humor, patience, and unwavering love of newborns, Hannah is the must-have accessory during pregnancy and new parenthood for all first-time moms. I'm so excited that you're here. Welcome, Hannah.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to be here. And thank you for that introduction. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that we're having this conversation today.
Yes, because we don't talk about it. And I can tell you as a parent, I couldn't see past homecoming.
Yeah.
I couldn't see it. And so it didn't matter what was on the other side. And then I got there and I'm like, oh God, this is hard. This is really hard.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's that postpartum support, that dream team is something that is so rarely talked about, especially when you're so focused on your pregnancy and your birth, or if you're having a high risk pregnancy, you know, you're focused in on the here and now and the day to day. And so that discussion never really happens for the most part about, all right, so now I get to bring home my baby and yay, this is amazing. But like, okay, now what?
Yeah. Now what? How do we get through this? And how am I suddenly alone all of a sudden? Right?
Exactly.
Like I've been surrounded.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, okay, I have so much I want to talk to you about, but tell us a little bit first about how you got into this work helping new moms in this particular time of their life, because I think that's so cool that you're doing that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I was one of those crazy people that found my passion when I was basically an infant. On my first Christmas, I got this baby doll. I became attached at the hip to this doll, and that transitioned into me actually working with real babies in like a babysitting, nannying capacity. I went on to become a governess and a newborn care specialist. And as I was doing this work, I realized that what I was loving the most about my time with these families was those initial weeks and months after they brought their baby home. And I was working exclusively with families that had infant multiples. So a lot of them also had a difficult fertility journey or a difficult pregnancy or had babies that had spent time in the NICU. And I loved being able to be a support and a coach for them when they first came home and were like in that, okay, now what phase? Because
yes.
It isn't talked about a huge amount, and it can be an emotional roller coaster in a really incredible way, but also in this very overwhelming and unknown kind of way, because it's such a brand new experience and it's a 24/7 experience.
Yeah. And, you know, I've had the opportunity to interview several women on Delivering Miracles who shared their stories of having babies in the NICU. And even the women who were second, third, fourth time moms, when you've got a baby in the NICU and you come home, it's a totally brand new experience.
Mm-hmm.
And even though they thought they were experienced parents, like, oh, we got this, all of a sudden they were like, we have no idea what's going on anymore.
Exactly. And it is also having a baby that has spent any time in the NICU. It is a completely different experience bringing that baby or those babies home compared to just your traditional birth and hospital stay. Because even if baby was only in the NICU for a week or for a few months, you're used to having that built-in support 24/7, that there are doctors and there are nurses and there are other parents who are in that world with you, that then being removed from it is almost like an even bigger slap in the face.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
Absolutely. And you add on the fact that they've been through this trauma of potentially, an infertility journey, potentially a high-risk pregnancy, definitely a preterm birth or some kind of birth trauma that led to the baby being in the NICU. And then all of a sudden you take the social support away. That is prime breeding ground for developing anxiety and depression postpartum.
Exactly.
Prime breeding ground.
Exactly. I know. And it's so it's so unfair that winds up being such a common after effect of an already stressful situation.
Yeah.
That you want the bringing home piece to just be all glowy and happy. And it can often, at least from what my clients have said, it can often be one of the scariest things to actually be released.
Yeah.
And you so badly want to get home with this baby and he's off of all the tubes and he's safe enough and healthy enough and big enough to be at home with you. But then you're like, oh man, this is all on me now.
Yeah.
And I don't have people. Which is why I love talking about creating a dream team, because if we just talked about this more, that bringing home experience would be very, very different for a lot of families, and it would be a lot smoother.
Yes, absolutely. So let's talk about this. Who do you think needs to be on this dream team?
So the dream team, there are some people who should always be on your dream team. And then there are a whole bunch of other options that are like tailor-made for your situation.
Cool.
So
okay.
When it comes to the dream team, what I always talk to my clients about is that you're going to want someone or something that can offer you physical support, someone or something that can offer you kind of like mental support, and also one that will help with that emotional realm. So all of these support categories can be filled by different people depending on the relationships that you have in your life. So like with the physical support, that's actually like, you shouldn't have to do every gosh darn thing the second that you get home with this baby. So whether or not you also physically have anything going on, this would mean bringing in somebody who can do things hands-on. Like it could be anybody from a babysitter who could actually help with the baby, all the way to hiring somebody like a house cleaner who will take on a responsibility that normally falls on your shoulders that right now you really shouldn't be like bothered by at all.
I had somebody tell me when my son came home, and she was a friend of mine who was so great about being super blunt about this stuff.
Yeah,
and she's
we all
like,
need one of those friends.
We do, just really slap us out of our heads, right? And I'll never forget it. She told me, are the dishes going to get done any better because you do them? And I was like, oh, good point. The dishwasher is the same no matter who fills it.
Yeah.
And she's like, but is your baby going to be fed if you don't pump?
Right.
Because I'm the only one that can do that. But I'm not the only one that can do the dishes. And that was such an eye opener for me when she said it that way. Like, okay, I hear what you're saying now. This is not me being unable to be super mom. This is really me prioritizing the only things that I can do so that everybody else can do everything else.
Exactly. That's actually one of the things that I love to do is have either, a mom, if we talk while she's pregnant or if we talk right when baby comes home, I have her just like make a list with me about, okay, what are all of like the daily and weekly to-dos that happen in your house, from like walking the dog to cleaning dinner to cleaning dishes to, making dinner, things like that. And we go through them after, we've typed up this big list and are kind of like, okay, which ones do you love doing? And which ones do you personally have no choice but doing? That it's like, if you're going to breastfeed your baby, that's something that you have to do, like that you really can't hand breastfeeding over to somebody else. You could pump and have them do a bottle, but like, look at this list, figure out what are your must-haves because you love doing them, or there's something self-care wise that you're like, I'm not okay not doing this. Like, I need to be able to meditate every day, or I have to be able to have 10 minutes outside on my own to clear my head. Like, whatever it is, you do your must-haves and your must-dos, and then everything else, you figure out who you can hand it over to.
I gotta say, though, I bet there's a lot of women listening going, that's great.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But I can't do that because I need to do everything myself because nobody else can do it as well as I can.
Yeah.
What do you say to women like that and who are thinking that?
That is actually a really common thing. And I can honestly say I'm totally one of those people too, that I'm
Me too. I know. I can really resonate with this. Yes.
Yeah. Like, well, I could totally do it. Or I would do it better. Like, I have my way of doing it, or something like that. To all of those women who are having that thought, for one, I totally hear you. I know how that feels. And then the second piece that I would say is check in and see whether it's honestly because you really, really, really think that you are the only one who can do it that great, or if it's more of that pressure to be a super mom.
Yeah.
Like,
because there's a lot of pressure.
There is. And it might be more of that guilt piece of being like, yeah, but what's like Jane down the street going to think if I hire out people to help me, or if I have constant help? Like, there is a lot of, unfortunately, kind of like mommy pressure and mommy shaming that it's like, well, you should be able to do it all. Like, look at me juggling my quadruplets and hot dinner is on the table and the house is clean. And it's like, you have no idea what's going on behind that camera.
Right. Well, that's a really good point, because I can see that Instagram is horrible for this. And probably, I mean, really any social media of you've got this like beautiful Pinterest version of life. And you're going, I know I felt this way too. Like, I was home on lockdown for 2.5 years. I literally did nothing else but take care of him, to the detriment of taking care of myself. I'll totally own that. Yeah. But I would look on Pinterest, I would look on social media, I'm going, how do these people do this? Like, my house is still a disaster and I'm a disaster. I'm still not showering every day. And I'm just like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Why can I not manage this?
And that's the thing, though. You weren't doing a single thing wrong. You were probably having a very typical experience as a mom for the first time with a baby, having gone through a difficult pregnancy, having had a baby that was in the NICU, you're on lockdown. And you know what? All those people on Instagram, what they don't say is they have a heck of a support team behind them. I would bet you anything. Even that perfect photo was probably taken by somebody who's a professional photographer,
Yes. Thank you for that perspective. Yeah. Yes. It reminds me of, I don't know if you've read Shonda Rhimes' book, Year of Yes. It's awesome, awesome book.
I know Shonda Rhimes. I haven't read the book, though.
It's so good. And there's a chapter in there where she talks about her nanny. Her nanny's name is Jenny McCarthy, but it's not Jenny McCarthy.
That's funny.
And I wish I had it right here with me. I could read it, but she says something about how nobody talks about the fact that people can get through their life because they've got a support team. And so I'm going to sit here and tell you, I've got a nanny who works with me full time. And that is the reason why I can go to work, because she takes care of my 3 girls when I am at the studio shooting all my shows.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so refreshing to see that and go, okay, so she's not this like super powered woman that, oh, just because she has so much money, for some reason, she's able to manage a beautiful, easy life. It's no, she actually got help. And that's why that's possible.
Yeah. And there's actually something very beautiful about the fact that she decided to get that support.
Yes.
Like, there's no shame in it at all. In fact, I think it's a really cool example that she's setting for her girls.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, that like she's passionate about the work that she's doing. She's brought in a professional who is passionate about caring for her kids. And she's showing her girls that, you know what, I value myself and I value all of you enough that like we've created this beautiful team instead of me being a frazzled mom running from one place to another, trying to make it all work and probably dropping the ball in a whole bunch of different places and feeling stressed or resentful or something like that. Instead, being like, hey, you know what? We work better as a community.
Yeah.
And going into the future, I can only imagine what awesome effects that'll also have on her children. Just how it will have the effects on anybody who brings in support during their postpartum or throughout their pregnancy.
That's
for their
a
children
great point.
to grow up knowing that like there's value in seeking out help when you need it or having somebody to rely on. Like,
yes.
I would love for future generations to know that. Like, you don't have to be isolated and do things by yourself and feel overwhelmed and stressed. Nobody wins if you do that. But if you look outside of yourself and say, hey, you know what? I'm feeling like a hermit right now. Like, I could use some conversation. I could use some guidance. I could use a half an hour to go and shower, like whatever it is, that's an awesome example to also set for the other people in your life.
That's a great point. And I think where I know I got stuck, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners get stuck, is feeling like I couldn't do enough for my son. I couldn't stay pregnant long enough. I couldn't protect him. And so now I've got to make up for that by doing all the things all by myself. And I realize that when I think that way, and for those of you that are listening, if you're feeling that way, you've got to realize that you're thinking about this then about you, and it's coming from the focus is on you when what you're intending is for the focus to be on your baby. And so if you really switch your perspective to say, what's actually good for my child? Is it that I'm super stressed out and worn down and exhausted, but I'm trying to do everything? Or is it that this child just needs me to be healthy and happy? Because I think you know the answer. I know I did when I switched it around like that, it just became so clear. Like, oh gosh, I am not being the best mom possible by trying to do it all by myself. That's actually counter to exactly what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. And something else that it made me think of when you were saying that was a lot of people, when we talk about getting support or building your dream team, the first thought is like, okay, so basically you're telling me I should hire a nanny. Like, the thought is the support comes in the form of childcare. And that's actually does not have to be true at all. This support team can be completely behind the scenes, working on things in your home, in your business, around your house, like landscapers, like things like that. It doesn't have to be baby related at all. It can be completely focused on taking other tasks off of your list so that you, if you choose to be, can give 100% of your time and your attention. I mean, outside of like, I'm a big advocate of making sure that mama also takes time for herself and for her partner. But like, you can just be completely family focused, and the support can be outside of that, like doing the laundry, the cooking, walking the dogs, putting your emails on autopilot, things like that, so that you can just kind of hunker down and do exactly what you want and need for your family right then.
I love that. I so love this. So this kind of falls under the umbrella of physical support. And then you mentioned having mental or emotional support. How do you see that as being different?
Okay, so the mental and emotional support. So like the physical support is actually somebody that I would say would come into your home, your environment, and like does physical work so that you don't have to do it. The mental and emotional support piece can come in the form of a coach or a friend or your mom or something like that, or another mommy group, where it's people who either have an expertise in what you're going through right now so they can be there and guide you through it, or it's people who are also right there in that exact experience who are like, hey, I'm in the thick of it too.
That is so invaluable.
I know. Or it can be like a parent or a sibling who just knows and loves you so much that they will be that person who can just sit on the phone while you vent or while you cry. And they're just like, you know what? I love you. And that's it. You know, it's the people who are there to listen to what's going on and can also lift you up and be like, either here's an expert's advice on what you're going through and how to do it next, like what to do next, or here's I'm right here with you. We're stronger because we're together. Or it's just somebody who loves you so much that it's unconditional. And it's like, you can see me as I am right now. I can be totally raw with you. And it's not going to change a single thing about what you think of me.
I love that. Yes. And I'd love to add here too, for those of you that are listening, that this is different. And this is in addition to mental health support, because as we talked about earlier, you know, NICU parents, but even if you had a full-term baby, I mean, the risk of postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, postpartum PTSD, even postpartum psychosis, all of these things, these mental health issues can arise. And please know that it's perfectly okay to reach out to a licensed mental health professional to have support from that perspective, in addition to everything that Hannah just shared. So you're really building out this village or this team for yourself that can help you in so many different ways.
Yeah, mental health professionals are awesome members to have on your dream team. Like, no matter what your pregnancy, birthing, fertility story was or is, they can offer you this whole other perspective and support that the other members of the team that I mentioned aren't able to offer professionally.
Right.
So yeah. Oh, I love that you added that. That's so true.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So we've got physical support, mental and emotional support. Who else should be on a dream team?
So other people that can be on your dream team are like basically anybody who offers support. This is one of those things, because a common pushback that I get when I'm like, oh, creating your dream team. So many people are like, yeah, but like, who do you ask? Mm-hmm. I bet that any woman that has been pregnant or is currently pregnant can name probably a dozen different people who, when they found out that she was pregnant or saw her at her baby shower, mentioned like, oh, hey, if you ever need help, let me know. And it is the most common thing ever to just brush it off and be like, oh yeah, thanks. Every single person who offers it, say, yes, thank you. I would love that. Here's how you can support me. Because the help it's out there, and it can come in so many different forms. It doesn't even have to be necessarily somebody that you hire. I know a lot of the different members that I mentioned come, you know, at a price. Like if you want somebody to come and do your landscaping outside so that you don't have to mow the lawn, like you're going to have to pay them to do it. But outside of family and friends, there's also all of your neighbors or your church community. There are online resources, free hospital resources. So it ultimately comes down to just really what the mom and her partner feel like would benefit them most? I mean, I always say, at least for the first few weeks, hire as much support or accept as much support as you can for those first at least 2 weeks that you're home. If somebody has said like, oh, hey, I'd love to bring over a meal, say, that would be wonderful. Just as an FYI, we're vegetarian and we don't have anything coming on Thursday. You know, I'll pop a cooler on the porch. I am so appreciative. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And leave it at that so that the support is exactly what you need when you need it in the way that you're craving it. Because maybe the support that you could use is like not having to cook dinner for a whole week, but
which is huge.
Which is huge, but maybe you're not in a space where it's okay for people to be visiting. And it feels like, oh, okay, well, we're on lockdown right now. I can't be accepting visitors into my home. So you feel like you can't accept the support.
Yes, but which is totally what happened to me. Totally what happened to me.
I feel you on that because I know how difficult it is to be like, yes, I will accept your support and give not much in return.
Yeah,
you know,
because you're
terrible.
Like, obviously. Yes.
Yeah. But trust that anybody who offers support or anybody that's in your network that you know loves you and you know that you would reciprocate this in a second for them, know that they will be totally okay if you're just honest with them and say, hey, yeah, I would love that. You know, I would love it if you could pick up groceries for me and just drop them outside. You know, as you know, we just got home and we can't accept visitors, but you'll be high on the list to come as soon as we can.
Yeah.
You know, and just leave it at that. And people will respect it because part of what they're getting is just the love and enjoyment of knowing that they are helping out. Like people love to help other people. So if they've offered, they're being honest in offering.
Absolutely.
You know, take them up on it.
And if you flip it around and you think, what would I do if my friend was in this situation? Obviously you would help, right? And so I refer back to that blunt friend of mine that I love to death. And when I said this to her and I was like, no, I can't because I can't reciprocate. I can't do anything back. And I feel so terrible. And she literally said to me, what makes you so special that you can't receive support?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, snap. Yep. Yeah. You're right. But she's so right. Like, why do we think that we don't deserve it, but we're willing to dole it out freely and easily to other people?
Exactly.
That's not fair.
Like when you think about it from the other side, I'm like, of course, I would do that for a second and think nothing of it. If the new mom said to me like, hey, I'd love to take you up on that offer. Here are some other boundaries that go along with it. Like, this is what we eat, or we already have 8 lasagnas, just FYI. I wouldn't be like, oh, how dare she tell me?
Right.
You know, I'd be like, oh, hey, I'm so glad I didn't feel like a kook showing up with your 9th lasagna.
Right.
You know,
you're helping them help you better.
Exactly. And setting those parameters also make sure that you don't make the person that's helping you feel weird at all either. Like they don't want to accidentally overstep and be like trying to be like, oh, can I come in and see the baby? And then right then have that awkward situation of you being like, oh, actually, no, you can't. And sorry, bye. Take your foot out of my door. You know, like if you just set it up to begin with, that when they offer the help, you graciously accept it and follow up with, this is when I need it, how I need it, and thank you.
Yeah.
You're golden.
Yeah. Okay. So now if you're listening to this, you might be thinking, okay, this is great information for when I'm there. And I know you and I, Hannah, have talked about this extensively about how it's so important to actually set this up before you need it. But how do you tell women who are still pregnant, right, that this is what they need to set up ahead of time and not when they're in the thick of it? Yeah,
it can be a tough sell because not only are people who are pregnant often just very focused on like this pregnancy and then the birth.
Yeah.
But there is, like we talked about earlier, also just that pressure of like, you should do it by yourself, which is so unfair.
Yes. And that pressure, I'll acknowledge too, can sometimes come from within the family. It might come from your partner. It might come from your mom. It might come from your mother-in-law. It might come from sisters. I mean, it may even be inside your own family. So I wanted to acknowledge that for those of you who are listening going, yeah, I've heard that before from my insert relationship.
Exactly. I know. It honestly, more often than not, does come from your close network of people that they're like, oh, well, when I was when I was the new mom, blah, 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 I did it by myself. And like, we didn't have that when I was young. Or people who just question it, like, oh, like, well, why do you need that?
Yeah. Like, or, oh, you're so spoiled. Oh, you have such an easy life because you've got this. Like, there's a lot of judgment.
Yeah. So what I always tell the moms as we're going through this, the process of creating her dream team and then reaching out to the different members or hiring them out is, you know what? Put them on the calendar. And if you get home and you don't like it, cancel every single one. There is nothing about it that's going to lock you in to keeping that support. So why not just set it up now, check it off of your to-do list, because that way you can focus on baby when you're at home, get it done while you're pregnant, and then it's in place. If you decide that you don't need it, it's always easier to just cancel it last minute than to try to schedule it last minute.
Yes. Okay. So then one step farther, just to really, hit this home, because I know this is what a lot of women struggle with, is they're still hearing you and they're going, okay, but I really don't think I'm going to need this.
Okay. Yes. Here is what I want to say to all of those moms. You are completely right. You don't need it. You are completely self-sufficient. You are strong. You are brave. You can crawl your way through this if you need to. And I have total confidence that you will survive it. But the thing is you deserve to thrive.
Oh my gosh. Hold on. Whoa, we've got to repeat that. That is gold. You will survive this, but you deserve to thrive. I have got goosebumps right now. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right. That is a whole other piece to it, that it's like, yes, you could do this on your own. I am not ever going to tell a mom that she's incapable, because my goodness, after a pregnancy and a birth, whether it was everything was perfectly fine, or if it was stressful or high risk, or there was a NICU involved, like, women are freaking amazing creatures, and we have the strength to do anything.
Yes.
But we also have the right to enjoy it and care for ourselves in the process and have it be a good experience, not one that you look back on and are like, yeah, well, we got through it.
Yeah. And I can really,
it was good.
Yeah. No. And I'm so glad that you said that, because I can really attest to this. And those of you that are listening, I really want you to hear this from me as just another mother in the world, that is what I did. And when we look back on that time, that is how we talk about it. We got through it. Somehow, some way, we got through it. And I'll tell you, that makes me very sad now, because I wished that we could have enjoyed it more. I wished that I could have been more present and more focused and just healthier and happier. And that doesn't mean I wasn't grateful for our life, but I didn't have the help. And I didn't set up this support ahead of time because I had no idea that I could. I didn't have that permission. I didn't have the information. I didn't know it was possible for me, and I didn't know it was okay for me to do it. And so if you're in this place, and look, I get it. I'm super type A too. I was super like, I got to do it all. I got to make up for how much I failed my son. Like I had all those thoughts that you're thinking right now, but it's not worth it in the long run because you want to think back and remember these days and really experience them and then think back on those memories with so much joy and not just like, oh, phew, we made it, because it doesn't feel good. Right. Even years down the road, it doesn't feel good. I'll be really honest about that. It doesn't feel good.
Yeah. You don't ever want to look back on the time and be like, that whole time I was just wishing for it to be different.
Yeah.
You know, or I was a mess that whole time. Like that is why you hire support early.
Yeah.
So that you have that safety net that's there that is pushing you constantly up in the direction of where you want to be. Because you deserve that.
Yes.
You know, like that's the thing. It's not some sort of a luxury to have a dream team. It's something that everybody deserves to have. It's like the old saying, you know, it takes a village to raise a child, but like there was something really cool about what they were talking about. Like having this whole network of people that are all helping you to move in the direction that you want to go.
I love it. You're so right. You're so right. You deserve support, whatever that might look like. You deserve support to help you be the best mom possible to your little miracle.
Mm-hmm.
Hannah, what are your final words of hope for women who are just about ready to deliver or women who are right in the thick of it and are hearing this message for the first time?
Oh, I would say to all of those moms, my message to them would be, you are worthy of being supported. You deserve that support. And also, it is out there. Like, no matter how much it can feel like, yeah, but I live far away from my family, or we are just moved to this area or something like that, there is always support available. And it's just aching to be able to help you out.
Beautiful.
So give yourself that gift and focus on wanting to thrive and knowing that that's what you deserve, instead of feeling like you have to just push through and figure it out.
Love it. I love it. And where can women find you if they are loving what you're saying and want to know more about what you do?
Yeah, you can find me over on my website. It's just www.thebabymaven.com. And all of my info is on there.
Fabulous. And we'll have that linked in the show notes. So it's very easy for all of you that are listening to just click on the link and head over to Hannah's website. Hannah, thank you so much for being on here. I could talk to you for hours. I know we just scratched the surface, but I really appreciate you coming and sharing your wisdom about building a dream team for all women anywhere when they're about to get ready to deliver their baby.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This has been such a fun topic to talk about. And as you know, I always adore our conversations.
Yes.
So it was my absolute pleasure to be here with you today.
Love it. Thank you. Oh gosh, this is a message I wished that I had received when I was going through the NICU. And that's exactly why I wanted her to come on Delivering Miracles today, because if you're going through it now, I want you to hear this. I want you to hear this loud and clear and feel it in your bones. You deserve support to help you be the best mom you possibly can for your little miracle. You deserve it. Don't let anybody make you doubt that. Thank you so much for joining me here today. And if you enjoyed today's episode, I would love it if you can head over to iTunes and leave a review so that Delivering Miracles can get ranked higher and higher, so more and more women who are going through infertility, high-risk pregnancy, NICU stay, prematurity, and healing afterwards can tune into Delivering Miracles and hear the advice and the inspiration and the tips on how they can get through this difficult phase of life. And if you have delivered a baby and baby is home and you're struggling with the trauma and healing from the grief, the guilt, and everything that you just went through, I would love for you to head over to parijatdeshpande.com/postpartum so that I can guide you to quickly overcome that guilt, that anxiety, that trauma, so you can enjoy this life that you have fought so hard for. And of course, I would love to stay in touch. So follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Parijat Desh. That's PARIJATDESH. You are worthy. You are deserving. You are amazing. So allow yourself to receive support because you can make this the best time of your life, even better than you ever imagined. Let people in and allow them to support you because you really do deserve it. Take it one day, one step at a time. You can do this.